I'm Rihanna, and welcome back to Fresh Off the Broke.
Fresh Off the Broke is about personal experiences growing up Asian American in a predominantly white community, Asian media, and Asian pop culture in general. Race has always been a sensitive topic. Every day there's debates over race. With our podcast, we intend to shed light on the experiences of first-generation Asian immigrants, not put them on a pedestal.
We understand that race isn't everything, but there should be an acknowledgement of people of color, the knowledge gap, and the racial divide that will ideally be broken. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the episode. Today we are going to be discussing Asian food, but the lighter side of things. And this is part 2 of our series.
Yes, because in part 1 we got a little angry and we figured that since Asian food is obviously amazing, we should not only talk about gentrification and the negative, we should also highlight our favorite Asian food.
Also, today is a special, what's the word? Oh, it's a collab with Foodyblogs.
She is a podcaster. Her name's Angelica, and her podcast is called One Nom at a Time. So, Angelica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Angelica, and I'm currently a Vancouver-based foodie who just kind of, go around and I just take pictures for restaurants and kind of like, post my experience and blog a bit about my food experience around the greater Vancouver area specifically. So I've grown up in Vancouver my entire life, so I'm pretty familiar with, I guess, the culture here, I would say. And my parents are from Hong Kong, so I also have that Asian food background. And I'm also a vegetarian, so I've been vegetarian for about 7 years now, so it's been a while. And Vancouver is definitely a good place for that because there's a lot of kind of multiculturalism and a lot of openness to different sorts of, I guess, food and cultures and diets. So it's been a really great experience. So yeah, that's kind of a bit about myself and what I do. And I'm also currently a student, just studying environment and sustainability. So that's kind of a field that I'm hoping to focus on and somewhat intermingle with my food experience. But I'm excited to see where things take me.
That's awesome. I actually had a question regarding your intro. You said that you are a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find like the experience being an Asian vegetarian? Because I know that not for everyone, but in certain cultures, like meat is very much emphasized on.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Have the proper accommodations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I definitely know quite a few friends in my circle who had kind of, that not so good experience in terms of, with their parents and just like the openness and willingness to accept vegetarianism. Thankfully, my parents actually, my dad has been a vegetarian for longer than I was, so about like 13 years. So I kind of grew up with that background, so made it a lot more easier. But definitely I know going back to like when I went back to Hong Kong, and like even in like China, it was definitely a much more of a struggle to kind of get like that acceptance, because I feel like over there it's not really widespread and it's seen as a really kind of alienated sort of diet. It's like a restriction. It's like, oh, why would you go vegetarian when you can't eat meat, or like stuff like that. So it is becoming more open and kind of accepted there now. I remember like going back to Hong Kong, I think a few years ago, and there are actually quite a few vegetarian restaurants opening up that were gaining popularity. So hopefully, I guess, there will be more acceptance in those realms and areas soon. But yeah, there is definitely a bit of like a roadblock there for a lot of people. And I think it's also a generational difference with kind of like, oh yeah, what your parents think and what you think and just the values that you're brought up. So fortunately, I got the easy way out for that since my parents were super open and accepting to it. So yeah.
That's good. In Vancouver, just like a question, because I know like both Toronto and Vancouver are pretty like, I guess urbanized. Like they're
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So like is it easy to find like vegetarian options in Vancouver as well?
Yeah, I would say it's actually super easy because I think there
Oh.
is like a pretty big vegetarian slash vegan movement cohort kind of amount of group of people here. So a lot of restaurants actually really accommodating, and they would often have like a section that's for vegetarian, and there's
Oh.
also like a ton of like vegan restaurants and vegetarian restaurants. So I've like had a really easy way out here being in Vancouver. I'm not sure about Toronto. I don't know. What are your guys' experience with like kind of vegetarian food, or do you see that there is like a lot, or kind of like is it still pretty minimal?
I think that here also we have a pretty big like vegan and vegetarian option. Like a lot of my friends are vegan,
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe it's just because like I'm exposed to a lot of like people who are vegetarian and vegan, so it seems like there just are a bunch of options, but yeah, I think I'm pretty sure like it's also like that here, but I don't know if that's only recently or if
Mhm.
that's like been a thing because Toronto's pretty big, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it's been more popular recently with kind of like the environmental movement and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's been gaining a bit more awareness recently, but definitely like when I was still in like I guess like high school, I definitely didn't see it around that much.
Mm.
But now that I'm like into university, like I definitely notice it more and pick it up more. Especially since like I kind of explore like the food scene around Vancouver and I just kind of keep up with like what's new. So I definitely noticed that a lot more options are popping up, which is really nice.
That's good.
Hmm.
Just another question. I'm just curious. Um,
Oh god.
being like an Asian vegetarian, have your friends ever like poked fun at you for that? Like,
Um, Personally, I think I've had really accepting friends, so I've been lucky, but I do know, um, like with some of my other friends who are vegetarian, their friend groups would have been like a bit more like unaccepting of it, but
mhm,
I do feel like our generation is pretty open to differences and just diversity.
mhm,
So, and I feel like, I mean, I guess the only part would be finding food for us. It's kind of more difficult,
yeah.
especially if you're like traveling and stuff, because yeah, you just have to make sure you're accommodating everyone, and definitely like some places don't have vegetarian options. And I would also be open to it. Like sometimes, like if that bowl of soup has like two pieces of meat and that's the only thing that there is, then I'll just give the meat away to like my friends
Mhm.
and they can just eat that part for me and I'll just like, eat like the noodles or something. So like that's totally fine as well. So I think it's just this kind of mutual accommodation on both ends and just not being, too stringent about it. And yeah.
Okay. Those are all my questions. I was just curious.
I actually can relate to you on that. I have some vegan vegetarian friends. One of my vegan friends actually, her family owns a Vietnamese vegan restaurant in
Oh,
Chinatown.
that's super cool. I love vegan Vietnamese food. There's actually been quite
Mm.
a few popping up recently in Vancouver as well.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, and some of them are like pretty modernized and like pretty fancy, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. I quite enjoy. Yeah, and then there's also some very like traditional ones. There's this one in Vancouver that's like run by like this Vietnamese temple. So it's like all these like monks and
Ooh.
nuns who are
Oh,
like,
that's so
yeah,
cool.
who are making really like legit kind of vegetarian Vietnamese food. So
Wow.
it's always very cozy and homey to go there.
I've been to a restaurant like that. There's a Buddhist Chinese restaurant in Chinatown that I like.
Yeah, they get to, they know how to nail the flavors and
Mm-hmm.
it's like kind of like, yeah, it's more authentic, I feel like. So it's always nice to get that side of food. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Hmm.
Okay, so I guess the first thing we can kind of talk about is that do you eat dog stereotype, which is kind of like, like your typical elementary school, middle
Hmm.
school type, maybe high school type question. But have you ever been asked that? Even though, like, I know that you are vegetarian now, but have you ever?
Yeah, so I personally have not been asked that. And I
wow.
feel like because most of my friends kind of grew up in Vancouver as well, so I would say we haven't really been asked that, uh, at least from what I know. But I have heard of like that stereotype definitely circulating around a lot more, with like, the COVID pandemic and kind of all these stereotypes just resurfacing. And yeah, so but I personally haven't really experienced that. I don't know. What about you guys? Have you guys experienced it as well?
Before I
Um,
answer that, do you live in the more like Asian part of Vancouver? Because I know that Vancouver has a pretty big Asian, especially like Chinese population.
Yeah. So I would say I definitely do live in a more Asian kind of center. Like there's a street that's probably around like a 15-minute walk from my place.
Uh-huh.
Actually two streets that both are pretty much filled with either like Asian supermarkets or like bubble tea stores
Oh, that
or
sounds so nice.
yeah, so it's I'm kind of like in like the more Asian center, that's not in Chinatown because but in like the more I guess suburban, I don't know, but it's not really two suburbs, but I'm kind of in that Asian center, so maybe that's why I wasn't really exposed to any sort of racist kind of remarks or anything.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
Tiffany, you wanna talk about your experience first?
Oh yeah, no problem. So I grew up in a pretty white part of Toronto, at least like in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So comments like that were extremely common.
Oh, interesting.
One time I was walking out of school, and then some random person called me like chow mein.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
What?
that's very interesting. Okay. Yeah, I feel like my school was pretty okay because my elementary school actually had a Mandarin kind of immersion program.
Oh.
So people would go to my elementary school like just to learn Mandarin. So I guess people of like different ethnicities who went there were all really open to Asian culture, such that they would take the extra step to enroll in this program. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I feel like at least I was a bit more lucky, but I guess my high school was a little bit more whitewashed, but because I was in like I was in like a mini school program, so personally around me, my friends were mostly Asian as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, there was that kind of separation though. I did feel within my high school, like the friend groups kind of, I wouldn't say they didn't really merge between like the main school and the mini school. It was kind of kept really separate. So it's
Uh-huh.
kind of interesting to see that distinction there. But yeah, I personally didn't really experience anything too bizarre, which I'm really thankful for.
Yeah, that's good. I think I'm trying to think like a specific example, but I definitely have been asked, "Do you eat dog or whatever?" Which, like, of course, just me being who I am, I'd always like play into that because I don't know, I just was like so tired of people asking me questions like that I'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do, or like just obviously as a joke. But like I remember like kids would be like, "Do you eat dog because you're Asian?" And I'll be like, "Well, actually in the Philippines there are places that do eat dogs, so be quiet." Which is
Yeah.
pretty good, but something that I've just resorted to doing because I was asked so many times.
Yeah, for sure. It's like at some point you're like, okay. It's kind of
Yeah,
like the stereotype of like, oh, like, are you really good at math? Or like,
yeah,
are you gonna, are your parents gonna make you become like a doctor or a lawyer or like stuff like that?
yeah,
It's definitely very pervasive within, the Asian community. So
hmm
yeah.
yeah. I also well, when I was in like elementary school, that age, I was in a more diverse setting, but middle school was like my class was pretty ethnic, and then the rest of the school I think was like 99% white. So yeah,
Interesting.
as long as
Yeah.
I stayed in my class, I'd be safe. But as soon as
Yeah.
I left my classroom, it was like
I
I'm
was
the
like,
only
oh no.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say Vancouver is a pretty diverse kind of city in general though. So I would like to think that uh Actually, no, I don't know. I'm not sure. It might go both ways. So yeah, I can't really vouch for, the entire population based off of my own experience. So yeah.
It's weird because like Toronto also it's very diverse, but there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
areas
it's in
that
the
are
top list.
yeah. It's just
Yeah,
it's
Toronto
weird.
is like the first kind of city you think about when you think about Canada because it's,
Yeah,
the center. Yeah. It is
it's weird.
interesting.
Like some areas are like completely white. It's weird.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we do have that separation here in Vancouver as well, I would say. Definitely like by areas, there are some that are just there's different kind of cultural areas that kind of pertain to different like immigrants and different sorts of cohorts. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely pretty prevalent and it shows in the food culture as well.
Angelica mentioned earlier about the pandemic. It's unfortunate that the dog eating stereotype kind of evolved into the bat eating stereotype.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Recently, I saw that at a Chinese restaurant, there was a caricature of the president of China with bat ears, and then it said something along the lines of "eat bat."
Oh. Wait, did you see this like in Toronto? Or is it like online?
No, I saw this on the news. Let me see if I can pull
Okay,
this up very
interesting.
quick.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's a huge, like with the pandemic, there was so much misconceptions about like wet markets and kind of that open market because over here, everything is, in supermarkets, it's all packaged into like plastic, which is a whole other thing that
Oh
I
my
could go off
gosh.
on.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to them, like the kind of local grocery store where everything's all like open and exposed, like it's really foreign. But it's just a different culture, and I think that people just have to kind of learn to accept it. And yeah, like there's so many great kind of things that can come out of these local markets, like
Yeah, for sure.
even the amount of waste reduction and like the
Mhm.
kind of like the least like less corporatization of food is just already a huge plus. So yeah.
Yeah. In the chat, I posted a link to a article, but mostly I'm just trying to show the picture.
Oh,
If you
wow.
scroll down, there's a Instagram post by someone that goes by Brian Boy. I think they went with their friend to this restaurant and they noticed the poster.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, Batman. That's what it said. Okay.
Batman?
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
it's in
may be a
Stockholm.
coincidence, or I'm reading into this more than I need to, but the background kind of reminds me of the Japanese sun. Remember the old flag?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That might be part of it.
Yeah, no, I see it a little bit because there's kind of, the red, and usually red is associated with like a very, like the communist like
Yeah.
kind of image from like Western cultures. But yeah, man, wow, that's a little problematic.
Yeah, the idea that they hired someone to make that and then get it all over their wall.
Yeah, that's very, very yikes. Yeah,
Oh, it's a restaurant in Sweden.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Very interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, racism exists everywhere, but
it does.
Sweden isn't the first place I'd think of when someone talks about racism.
Yeah, that's weird.
I thought Sweden always prided itself on being not like other European countries.
No, it was super interesting because I'm currently taking the sociology course that's we touch a lot on these kind of like, Eurocentric colonialism kind of like discourses. And a lot of stuff is just very hidden. It's like so hidden that, you don't really think about it, but it's kind of ingrained into your subconscious.
Yeah.
And yeah, like perhaps that's the case there. We don't really know, but and most of these people, they don't really realize it, I think. And until, people like really point it out and it's like, oh, okay, so whoa.
Yikes.
But yeah, that's very interesting. And because I think there are like Chinese people in the picture as well, like the
I saw
staff
two
picture.
Asian people in the staff photo. What is going on?
Why can't I
But
see
I do know within like Asia, like there's definitely a lot of like polarization between different I guess ethnic groups.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so maybe like that could play into it. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, because the president is not exactly the greatest.
Yeah,
please don't
for
resort to racism to
Yeah,
criticize
exactly.
him. You know, you can
Exactly.
criticize him for the way he's been handling most things.
God.
I'm gonna be vague about this because I don't know if they're gonna find this podcast and then not let me go visit my grandmother.
Oh my. Yeah, I never
Okay,
think
great.
it's like you can say like, you know, their policies might not be the best, but like to attack them as a person is like very like, whoa.
Yikes.
Like, that's like a whole like new level of racism. So
Yeah, then you're just being low.
yeah, exactly. Because, you know, there's difference between the person as a person and what the person does. And obviously it's like kind of tied together, but it is a different, you know, to just attack them on that level is like totally like too much. So yeah.
Hey guys, it's Editing Rihanna. I actually have a little update about this situation. So the restaurants came out with a statement saying, "We have come to understand that many people found the show by Iron Artworks disturbing and racist, which was of course not the intention. We made a mistake and have decided to take the posters down. Back is now our permanent artwork. We sincerely apologize to anyone that was offended for feeding racism through these artworks." Although this statement is a pretty good apology, the artists themselves did not quite have the same feelings, and they came out with their own apology, basically saying that their work is satire, and if you can't handle satire, then don't read it, and yeah. So if you look on the screen, if you're watching the YouTube version, there is a picture of what I'm guessing used to be the poster, and it's now covered in black paint saying "Censored by the Chinese Communist Party, Sweden 2020, and yeah. The artist did state, "My intention was only to satire she/CCP, not to make a racist comment that hurt a lot of people, but I accidentally did, and I again apologize to you who felt that way." So the artist did apologize. I don't know how you guys feel about that apology. He came out basically just saying, yes, I do apologize, and he understands that it was offensive to some people, but he then said, swipe up if you can handle satire. So, I don't know. Okay, back to the video.
Back to the point that Rihanna was gonna make.
Yeah. Do you guys have any favorite food? Because I don't really. I'll eat anything, you know?
Yeah, I
Okay,
totally
Rihanna.
agree. I will eat like everything, or everything that is vegetarian, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah,
This contradicts your entire.
yes. I do like desserts in particular and matcha. Like I really like anything matcha flavored. Anything that's like tea based. That's probably kind of where I guess I like to eat, or what I like to eat more of. And yeah, I feel like I like lighter kind of foods. So even with like cakes and stuff, I find that I like kind of the lighter Asian cakes. And obviously like occasionally I will like, you know, the dense kind of Western cakes, but I do find that like with at least the Asian cakes kind of fit my palate more in terms of like the sugar, the sweetness, and like, yeah, how fluffy it is. But yeah, I would kind of say that's usually what it is. And obviously like the whole like noodle soup and like ramen, that's always a plus.
Yes, for sure.
You can't go wrong with that. So yeah, what are your favorite foods?
I think just Asian, like soup in
my
general.
God.
Noodle soup.
Yes.
I don't know, just like plain soup I don't really like. That's weird, but noodle soup is fine. I'm trying to think of anything I just dislike. I can't really think of anything. Tiffany,
it's hard to like really dislike a food. Like I dislike licorice, but that's like not really a food, you know? That's like
yeah. Oh yeah,
spice.
that's true.
Yeah.
How about like what's it called? Like Twizzlers. Would you count that as like licorice?
Yeah, kind of ish.
I'm not really sure what
I
Twizzlers
dislike
is, to be
black
honest.
licorice. yeah, I'm not a big fan of like candy in general. I find like as I age, man, I feel like I'm so old, but like, you know, as I age, like I definitely have a less preference for sweets. It was kind of funny because the other day I ordered bubble tea and I got like 0 sugar, and the person at the shop was like really warning me against it. He was like, "This is gonna taste so bad. Like, I really don't recommend you. Like, I really don't recommend you get 0 sugar. Like, you should try it. Like, are you really sure you want to try this? Like, it's gonna taste horrible." And I was like, "Is this how you advertise to your customers?"
Great marketing.
Yeah, I was like, I am fine. Don't worry about it. And it tasted
Wow.
fine. So I was like, I don't know what he was really, whatever. But it was kind of funny. So yeah, my palate has grown to kind of cut down on the sugar a bit.
I just looked up Twizzlers, and yeah, the original flavor introduced was licorice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very distinct taste, but some people do like it. So, I mean, by all means.
Haven't you
Yeah.
noticed that with Asian snacks, they have so many different flavors compared to Western snacks?
Oh my gosh.
For example, Kit Kats. They
Oh.
have the Japanese sakura flavor.
Oh yeah, I just had a whole suitcase full of the different flavors of Kit Kats when I
Oh
went
my
to Japan.
gosh.
Do you have any recommendations?
Ooh,
All of them.
I think. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I would say stay away from the apple one because that one tasted really artificial.
Mm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't recommend the apple one, but I'm always like I'm always a sucker for green tea because I just like green tea. And then I would say like the strawberry cheesecake one is pretty good, and I think the sake one is like really legit. So yeah, and surprisingly, the wasabi one is actually one of my favorites.
Oh, wow.
It's
Wasabi
like,
and chocolate.
yeah, it's a weird kind of like spicy, but not spicy. It's kind of weird, but it kind of works. So I personally really like the wasabi one. I think that was the one that had like the biggest impression on me, I would say. Yeah.
That's surprising.
You get Kit Kat to sponsor you.
Yeah. Sponsor.
There's like literally, I just love Asian convenience stores though, because
Oh, yeah.
when you walk in, there's just everything there. It's like not just chips. It's like it's just like everything. Like it's crazy. But yeah, and then the drink aisle just has like so many different types of drinks.
Oh
It's like
my
not even
gosh,
soft drinks. You have like lattes, like crazy flavored lattes. I don't know. Just like whack of flavors. So it's always fun to browse around in Asian convenience stores.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
here you just get like crackheads in convenience stores, but like in Asia
Oh my
it's like it's like good like stuff that you can find.
Yeah. It's pretty unique to see the difference. But and even like in Asia, I think there's so many what is it? Like the convenience foods, like I know in Korea they have like, you know, like takeout meals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Microwavable ones, which are like super, like they actually taste good, I think. Which is like a huge plus instead of like really processed stuff. I'm pretty sure it's still really processed, but like it tastes less processed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the university college students are probably doing a little better over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just eating a bunch of convenience food. Oh.
That sounds awful, but at the same time.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm pretty sure, like, you know, they'll fulfill their nutrients either way.
Yeah.
Have any of you had the newer White Rabbit candy flavors? I saw that they had red bean and matcha. I haven't had the matcha one, but I've had the red bean one, and it actually tastes pretty cool.
I don't like the red bean one.
Actually, my friend just like Snapchatted me this morning about it, so it's kind of I think it's like I haven't tried the matcha one, but I have tried the red bean one, like you did. I'm like okay with it. I think it's okay. Again, I'm not like the biggest fan of candy, so maybe that's why. But I think the red bean one's like okay. It's just a little grainy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I just like the original flavor.
But I do like a red bean soup. Yeah. Red bean soup.
I was on the fence about it before I tried it, but it's not what I would grab every day if I had to.
Mm-hmm.
But for a variation of like a very popular snack, it's not the worst attempt. My friend tried the matcha one. They said it tastes awful.
Oh, awful? Like not good?
Yeah. I don't know if that
Interesting.
was just his very strong opinion or
Interesting. Wow, I it's really hard to like go that wrong with matcha, but
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. He was very disappointed.
interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
Just him.
Well, maybe I will give it a try and do like a review on it or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not awful.
Yeah, hopefully it's not.
Tiffany, did you share your favorite food? I can't remember.
Oh no, because earlier the phone was ringing and then
Oh, yeah.
ran away. I really like snacks or like appetizer food. For example, I really like northern Chinese like cold spicy noodles. Like my favorite thing.
Mm,
That sounds really good.
yeah.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
episode is making me hungry.
I
Yeah.
know, me too. Yeah, I also really like, there's a lot of like Taiwanese like night market food.
I love
That's
Taiwanese
really good.
food.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's like a lot of good fried stuff there. Anything fried is honestly really yummy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not healthy, but you know, that can go out the door.
That can be looked over.
Yeah, exactly.
To bring up like night markets, I just want to bring up recently I was talking to my parents about like I don't even know how we were talking about it, but they were telling me that like the street vendors in Manila in the Philippines, like sometimes they'll put like rubber or like cement or like rocks in their
God, I'm getting scared.
yeah, like it's like you know how there's always the bloggers or not bloggers, vloggers that go to like especially like places like Manila and just go to like the street vendors and are like, oh, authentic Filipino food. It's like, dude, you gotta be careful there though, because sometimes it's not real food, you know?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Like I went
So, like,
back last year and my parents were like, you cannot eat certain foods, like we're gonna tell you what you can eat and what not to eat, like very strongly about that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's I think that's the same for like a lot of Asian like vendors and stuff. Sometimes like in terms of like the kind of health and safety of like I guess their operations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also just coming from like I guess different like I don't know how to say this in English, but like there's this kind of saying in like Chinese. It's kind of like, oh, like the water you drink is different, so it's like just that different kind of like levels of I don't know water sanitation. Like it kind of like so you can get like an upset stomach and stuff because you're just not used to it. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
which dialect do you speak?
I speak Cantonese.
Can you say it? Because I think I know what you're trying to say.
Is it like soy buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that like once or twice when I went to China.
Yeah, I feel like I got that several times too. It's just like you're just not used to like I guess the local climate and the local I don't know processes of food making.
I think it probably has something to do with like water filtration regulations, since some countries it must be at whatever pH, and in some countries it can be at that pH and they don't really care.
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely plays into it. So, yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's the same. It probably is the same thing, but like, yeah, I also got sick when I went to the Philippines because like, very different, even just the water. So.
Yeah, and I think like obviously like we're so fortunate to be in Canada where we have really clean water. So definitely I think even like I feel like when I go to Asia, like when I drink the water, it like tastes different.
Yeah, it does.
It's a little bit like, I don't know, it's like kind of, it just tastes a little weird. So like I know when I went to like Taiwan, like my friends, because I went with my friend last year, and like her mom like brought like the like big jugs of just like filtered water from like the supermarket, so at least like that way we're not drinking from the tap, so you know, we won't get that kind of upset stomach and stuff.
That's good. Yeah.
I haven't really experienced much in that because at my grandma's house, she has a water filter, you know, like the giant water bottle, and then that you flip over, and then you have the water machine. She has that.
Yeah, that's good, because at least you won't get an upset stomach if you visit. Yeah.
Wait, actually, if you directly translate this, sorry, it's water, toe is stomach, and then buttfolk means like uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. So it's like
water, stomach, uncomfortable.
Yeah. Basically.
Direct translation.
It's always funny, you know me, I love doing that.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any misunderstood foods?
Ooh. I feel like for like dim sum, there's always like kind of like the chicken feet. Like that's always a misunderstood one. And then the century egg is a misunderstood one. Yeah, just because like they look very foreign. Oh, durian, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, because of the smell.
Yeah, that's another, like, I actually quite like durian, but that is definitely another quite often misunderstood, or like, I don't know, represented differently. But yeah, I would say those are kind of more misunderstood foods in terms of like my own experience. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I think, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but there was like this challenge going on maybe a couple years back called like the balut challenge, which is basically just a duck egg, but the embryo is in it. So it's literally like there's like a baby duck inside the egg, and you eat that. And
I think I saw that before.
Yeah. So I grew up eating that. Like that's like one of my favorite things. Like if I see those eggs like on the shelf at like a Filipino store, like I'll ask my parents to buy it because it's like one of my favorite things to eat. And then when I saw the challenge going around, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's actually kind of weird to be like opening up an egg and there's just like a baby duck embryo in it. But I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Go for it.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So it was funny because like the challenge was going around, and then all of a sudden Bretman Rock, he just made a video of him eating like a bunch of them, and then all of a sudden like the hype went down because like some guy was just normal eating it, and everyone else was like, oh, I'm so scared to eat it, it tastes so weird. And then some famous Filipino guy just made a video being like, what's wrong with you guys? This is a cultural food. It's fine. And he just ate a bunch, and then the challenge kind of just died down from there.
Yeah. That's a great way to clap back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely saw those videos circulating around. And like, yeah, it's just like a cultural thing. It's kind of like the same thing with like chicken feet. It's like people are like, whoa, like that's so weird. But
like even just like whole animals being on display, like cooked whole animals with the head and everything. Like even that people find weird, which I'm sure to us it's like pretty normal to be seeing that like in the market.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the hanging animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like theoretically like the thing on your plate, like, you know, at a steakhouse is just like a chopped up version of that. So
exactly.
Like, it's really not that different, but it's just, I guess, different people's like perception of kind of different foods. Yeah. So it is very interesting how like different challenges are kind of made out of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up perception, because I remember I was eating out with my cousins, and I think one of like the things that we were eating was like ox tongue or something, which it was like sliced up, so it didn't even look like a tongue. And I was
Mm-hmm.
eating it, and my cousin goes, if you think about it, that's been in something else's mouth before. And I'm like, why would you say that? That just changes it. I mean, I still eat it, but when you think about it that way, I guess it is kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess it's just a different like perception towards, yeah, that's kind of funny how your cousin made that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty popular in like Chinese food and hot pot as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I've seen like vloggers like vlog about that because it's like very foreign to the Western palate. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I find it pretty hypocritical for people that eat meat and then they criticize like Asian food, or for example the way that Rihanna was saying how like whole animals get displayed. Because if you eat meat, then I'm not sure that you should be going on about the whole like, oh no, but like the animals, because I mean, you're eating that, you just don't see it. You're desensitized to it because you don't see it, and so you think that what you're doing is fine, but you're still contributing to that.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely, yeah, I do hear that quite a bit, I guess. And yeah, I think, yeah, definitely it's just a different way of presenting it. And I guess with a lot of things in like modern culture, like we don't really see the direct kind of back end of things. And I mean, personally, I'm speaking more from like an environmental sense, with like just like pollution, waste and stuff. Like we don't really see the back end of it, because it's just so like displaced like overseas, or the whole like labor's overseas. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And definitely like, yeah, I've been with like the whole environmental thing, like I've definitely been probably guilty of, you know, not thinking through the whole process down the supply chain of where things are going, and things like that. So yeah.
It's definitely like sometimes I'm very skeptical when they say that like animals were treated in a humane way, because the way that humans have been treating animals, I don't know what you call humane, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think and it definitely varies from like country to country with like their different kind of animal welfare laws. Like definitely our neighbors are very known for their factory farming. So
Oh God.
that's a whole other, yeah, that's a whole other realm. So
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Going on the topic of misunderstood food, earlier Rihanna mentioned ox tongue, you mentioned chicken feet. So are you familiar with James Corden's Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts show?
So I've actually never watched that before. I'm like not too immersed into like Western media, I feel like. So a lot of like like a lot of the YouTube channels I follow and stuff are like more like Eastern, like I don't know, like I follow a lot of like Korean cooking channels and like stuff like that.
Sounds like a good time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like food mukbang, like I don't know, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I haven't actually watched that before.
That honestly, that's fine. You're not. It's basically celebrity gossip, but then in the form of a challenge, because the concept of this segment is basically the host, James, and then the guest, they'll each have a set of cards of very uncomfortable, or I guess questions that fans, paparazzi might want to know that they're probably not allowed to say. And then they can choose to spill their guts by saying it, or fill their guts by eating a nasty dish on the table. And then once in a while, they'll have Asian dishes. For example, there was 1,000-year-old egg. I believe they had chicken feet. and there was also there was ox tongue, that was one. There was also cow tongue, which okay, I guess. And I believe they had grasshoppers one. And the thing is, I can see why on the Western end of things, those dishes may seem very out of this world and gross, but I personally felt maybe not offended, but weird seeing them being like, oh no, now I have to eat 1,000-year-old egg. This is the worst day ever.
Yeah, because it's like portrayed as like a, you know, like, oh,
Punishment.
this is like a gross dish that, you know, you have to eat because, yeah, as a punishment, yeah, like you said. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, because I feel like it just sheds like a certain, I guess, narrative and light on those dishes, such that when other people kind of see it or hear about it, then that's automatically the first image that they associate with it.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not the most representative, and yeah, it's like very biased in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Are these things like flavored?
I don't think so.
Oh, so it's like just the plain, like it's like a boiled chicken feet.
Yeah, I think so.
Got it.
I don't think they got someone to actually prepare it properly. It looks like they just boiled in water.
Right? Yeah, that looks like the bowl. Because I know in dim sum they usually coat it in like a sweet kind of sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
3 out of the 7 things there are like considered normal things to eat by other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Grasshopper is a snack in many places. Not just,
for sure.
In Asia.
Yeah, it's like,
or crickets.
Yeah, people like pan fry it and like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, in grade 5, a classmate of mine, I think they went to a candy shop. It was a Western store, and they bought a small box of crickets, and then he brought it to class, and everyone was freaking out and being like, "Ew, whatever."
Yeah.
And there wasn't anyone in my class that was like, I don't know if it makes sense to say a native eater of crickets or grasshoppers, but it was very much causing an unnecessary scene in the class where everyone was screaming for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like there's a certain, it's like with every show and every, I guess, kind of with media, there's always a certain lens that they approach it with. So in this case, it's very Western, just given that like the way they portray, you know, very traditional and very normal like Chinese food as like very foreign and like completely crazy. And it's also like definitely not the proper way that they cook it, you know? Like,
yeah, no.
You don't just boil like chicken feet and just eat it like that. Just as like people don't just boil chicken breast and just eat it plain as well. So it kind of, you know, applies to both sides.
Yeah.
Actually, I think some people do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I guess, yeah, no, people do that, yeah. But like, as in like, I guess with like meat, like
no
people
seasoning.
People usually season meat. But okay, chicken breast is like an exception, I guess, because people add it to like salads and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So it's like pretty popularized, but yeah, I guess
a pass.
Now I'm just thinking about that meme that people, white people don't add seasoning to their food.
Oh god.
There's so much seasoning in Asian food. It's like oh my god, my fridge is like filled with like all these sauces and all these spices. It's like crazy.
That's where it's at.
That is where it's at. Like, you know, we never, I don't know, I feel like that's why I guess I never really, like, I always was okay with vegetables because in terms of like the Asian way of cooking vegetables, like there's just so much seasoning and it's like a mix of everything, so it's not just like boiled. So yeah, or like we rarely like bake or roast anything in the oven. Like, although like I totally like I love roasted vegetables as well, but yeah, I definitely like to have mine heavily seasoned, especially as a vegetarian, because I feel like that's where it kind of makes up for the loss of flavor.
That's true.
So yeah.
I actually never understood growing up, when my peers, especially my like non-Asian peers, they'd say that they hate eating vegetables, or if they were on a field trip or at a camp or something where there were meal planned, they would refuse to have any vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I never viewed vegetables that way. I was very much the same as you, Angelica.
Yeah, I think it has to do a lot with like how vegetable is prepared. Because also like I feel like in Western culture, like obviously I can't speak for everyone, but definitely I feel like there is a lot more emphasis on like meat. Just from like I don't know, I guess my back, everything just kind of like, I'm just thinking about environmental stuff, but like obviously there's a lot of meat consumption going on in like Western countries, that's like very disproportional. So I guess in terms of like the art of veggies, like it hasn't been super explored maybe until like the recent more like vegan movement and stuff like that. But yeah, because I think in Asian culture, there's definitely, some influence from like Buddhism and stuff, which has that kind of historical background in like just vegetarian food and just veggies. So yeah, it's interesting. But there's also like different like seasons and spices and stuff that vary from culture to culture. Like I know Indian food, like obviously their like curries, they have like way more spices probably than like regular Asian food and stuff like that. And yeah, I always love a good curry too. So
Last point, I guess.
yes.
What are your like favorite go-to places near you? Because that's kind of your thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Go-to places. Ooh, I really like, I'm a huge bubble tea fan. I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious because I just consume bubble tea nonstop. But probably my most like local favorite kind of bubble tea shop is like this place called Teaspoons. Just because of like their values and their like authenticity, I guess. And like the fresh ingredients and everything. And I also, there's this other shop called Paragon Tea Room. It's like, and they make oat milk lattes with like tea. So it's pretty cool because they do like a shot of tea, like in the form of like almost like an espresso, but it's like heavy tea. Yeah, but it kind of stands out like a lot. So it's really nice. And you get that kind of like twist with like, your traditional like jasmine tea or like oolong tea, but with like a Western twist to it. So it's kind of nice to get that balance. And yeah, it's like not too heavy, which is nice. In terms of like food, there's this like just like full-on vegetarian restaurant called Sun Po Kong. And they just have really good vegetarian dim sum, which is super hard to find because regular dim sum restaurants, like I'm really limited to eating like rice rolls or like just like the desserty
dim
stuff.
sum's very meat-based. Yeah,
so like there's not a lot of like vegetarian dim sum option. Like I would basically eat like a bunch of like buns or something. But definitely like that one, they do like a vegetarian twist on your usual kind of dim sum. So they have like vegetarian pork bun and like vegetarian like fried like dumplings and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Those are probably my favorite, I would say. Yeah. How about you? Do you guys have any like go-to places in Toronto?
Well, in terms of like bubble tea, we don't really have any fresh, like local type. It's only like Cha Time and Coco and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have all like we have big franchises too, but I guess
they keep moving in.
Yeah.
They do keep moving in. I keep seeing more like pop up and I'm like, whoa, like do we need this with bubble tea?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, besides like just like local Filipino places, very typical, but like I love Jollibee, even though it's fast food, like that's like favorite fast food chain probably.
Yeah. I heard they're opening up a Jollibee, I think in Vancouver is what I think I heard.
I think I heard that too.
Yeah. I'm excited to try. I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
Is there any vegetarian stuff? I'm just like
That's the
curious.
thing. I'm trying to think. That's the problem. Like, Filipino
I'm gonna look
food
that up
is
right now.
so meat-based.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. That was like when I went to Korea and Japan. It was like a whole time there. It was just like, oh,
yeah,
that
because
was fun.
Koreans are very big on meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super hard to find like vegetarian food, and like for Japan as well, just because they're so big on seafood.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
It was a struggle, but it's okay. I managed at the end, so we're all good.
Oh, I'm looking this up, and Jollibee has a vegan version of their peach mango pie, so that's
Oh,
something you could
Oh,
try.
you should try. Yeah, peach mango pie is definitely one of their like staple
Like
things that you
signatures?
should try.
Ooh.
So,
that sounds really good.
yeah.
Like I always love a warm pie.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
even
like
McDonald's, yeah. Like even McDonald's apple pie, I'm like, I'm down
yeah,
for that.
it's literally like that. It's basically a McDonald's apple pie, but with peach and mango on the inside.
Ooh, oh,
Peaches
that
and
sounds so
mango sounds
good.
so nice.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
like the
getting
best.
more hungry as we.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the best combo. That's actually the best combo.
Tiffany, do you have any favorite local things?
Yes, I have one that I want to spotlight because I've been going there for years. But there's this restaurant in Chinatown called New Sky Restaurant. In Chinese, it'll be 修沙田 or 小沙田. And they've been existing since 1997.
Dang.
Whoa.
hustle.
So they've been here. They're basically this medium-sized, like cozy Chinese restaurant in, I believe, West End Chinatown. In Toronto, we have two Chinatowns. We have one on the East End and one on the West End.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's great for lunch, dim sum, dinner, and catering. They don't open in the morning, I don't think.
Oh, so
That's
it's only
not
for like,
their target.
yeah, like audience.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Ooh.
I think
That's
they
interesting how you guys
open
have like two Chinatowns.
Yeah.
I guess it's because Toronto is so big.
Yeah.
Like it's massive. It's like you have like downtown and then you have like everywhere else, which is like suburban, but like also not suburban. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes, they open around 11.
PM or AM?
11 a.m.
Okay.
I forgot to specify.
Because I was like, because you said they open a bit later, so I was like, wait, do you mean like late as in like late or like?
No, they gotta open
Got
at
it.
11 a.m. for those lunches.
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
My family's gone there for family dinners quite a couple of times over the years.
Yeah.
Very great dishes for anyone that's nearby or planning it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think in Vancouver there's one called like Golden Ocean, that my family and I always go to as well. It's like I love these like your traditional like this dim sum restaurant is just so homey,
Mhm.
and all like the waiters and stuff they kind of like know you because like you've been going there for so long, so it's always nice to get that recognition too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love restaurant names sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Golden Ocean, Little Guy, or like
They're very like
something.
direct translations.
Yeah.
It's very funny, but it's like so, kind of unique. So yeah, and it's like very like localized that way. So
Mhm.
that's the legit stuff when the
Yeah, for
restaurants
sure.
are like direct translations.
Yeah. As long as it's not using that stereotypical font and there's lots of Asians inside, you're probably good.
Yes, exactly. That is the indicator of good food.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't really have anything else to add, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean
Thank
that's
you
cool.
so much
Yeah,
for guesting.
Yeah,
no
thank you.
problem. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Check out Foodyblogs on Instagram.
Plug.
Thank you, and check out Fresh Off the Brook on Instagram as well. Okay, nice talking to you guys.
Nice talking to you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. Leave a comment of a restaurant recommendation because we love checking those out. Although, if they're not in our area, then you're kind of being mean. But we could check them out if we didn't have the opportunity to go to your country, state, city, island. Leave a comment about your thoughts on the whole dog eating stereotype. It became the bat eating stereotype now. Racist restaurants. Hopefully there's no more of that. Hopefully that lovely Batman illustration was just a rare occurrence. As you can see, I'm being very optimistic here. Hopefully. And yeah, if you have any snacks that you love, Asian snacks growing up, because we only touched on one or two, we'd love to hear about your favorite Asian cookies, Asian snacks, desserts, Asian food.
You would try those.
Mukbang channels.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, if you have any good ones, we'll check them out. We love reading recommendations. That sounded very sarcastic, but I mean that.
You really do.
Shout out to the guy that commented Russell Peters on our Asian comedian.
Oh my god.
If you're listening, we saw you.
Come back.
Come back.
Well, yeah. So if you want to find out more about us, check out the card link in our Instagram bio. It contains links to our streaming platforms such as Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts that we're on, and more. So follow us for more behind-the-scenes content, announcements, and other random things we decide to put on there.
And one last thing, if you want to check out any of the restaurants we mentioned, the links are in the description. So go on and support your local, well, maybe not local, but Asian restaurants and businesses. Do it.